to get hit in the mouth. You need a slice of humble pie.
Yeah.
But last week still stunk, and hopefully there's something to learn from it there for the Philadelphia Eagles. It is the Cat Country 96 Birds recap. It's brought to you by Miller Lite, the official beer sponsor of the Philadelphia Eagles, and by our friends at Banko Beverage Company with Sam Malone. I am Kevin Crockett. And okay, Sam,
Yeah.
hit in the mouth last week. What do you think about that?
Hit in the mouth, hit in the gut, hit in the leg, everywhere else you can imagine. Man, I don't know. I'm concerned. I'll be honest with you, and I know a lot of the it's good for the Birds. It's good for the Birds. I don't know if it is good for the Birds. I'm a little concerned. This wasn't a Jets loss where they just didn't. I don't want to say they just didn't show up for the Jets, but they didn't have their best game, and this one was a little concerning. This one bothered me more than the Jets because it's late in the season, because it's against a really solid team that we could be playing again, and here we are on a Friday, Crockett, and I'm just about getting over it. So, things happen for a reason. Hopefully, I'm a little concerned over Bosa saying, yeah, they figured out Jalen Hurts and this and that and the blueprint. I read that this morning. I'm like, all right, maybe you think that, but, I don't know how true that is, but everything is going through my mind right now. I just summed that up in about 30 seconds for you. Every emotion, every feeling, everything.
Yeah, I don't fall into it that much as you did. I kind of took that one as we're going to watch this film one time, we're going to correct some things, we're going to throw it away, and we're going to start over. Look, I think it can't be overstated how much change has been in the back seven of that defense so far this season, and it absolutely got exposed last week. Communication, such a key part back there. And even when this defense is playing well, there's still lapses in communication. Yeah, the linebacker position, I think, left a lot to be desired. They kept getting caught with their eyes in the wrong spot. And it wasn't even so much maybe eyes in the wrong spot, but fitting gaps where you need to fit a gap in a run blitz, and just kind of trusting, take a Sixers term here, trusting the process. It's unfortunate. Look, I was excited to see Christian Ellis get a spot start. He didn't have his best game, but there's a reason 6 teams put in a waiver claim on him. He didn't make it back to the Eagles practice squad.
Yep.
He's going to go to the Patriots now.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, okay. You bring in Shaq Leonard, but I think that says something to it, that 6 teams put in a waiver claim. That's kind of not the norm. Usually, there's maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 on a guy that's available out there. That also puts a big hole in special teams. Christian Ellis, a big player on special teams. So I'm looking more of last week as a bit of okay, let's square some things up. Let's get back to basics. Maybe we're coming off of a rough run. We're banged up a little bit. All those things. I think it's more I think San Francisco was a better team. I think San Francisco may be the better team. If these two teams took 2 weeks off and played in 2 weeks, if the line came out in a neutral site that said San Francisco was the better team, I don't know that I could argue with that.
Right.
That said, I think I just buy in a little bit more to the let's take a step back. Let's take a deep breath. We're a better team than what we showed last week. Problem is, you don't get kind of a mulligan here or a bad team or 10 days rest like the Cowboys have. You get the Dallas Cowboys, primetime lights, Sunday Night Football, NFC East, first place on the line. How quickly can you kind of get it back together and reassert yourselves as a prominent team in the NFC?
They have to. They have no choice. This is the week. Is it over for them if they lose? Of course not. But this is a week that they need to go in there and show that they're top of the division. This is the best team in football for, how many weeks, 14, 15 weeks, whatever. And they need to tackle Crockett. They're not, there's so many things to look at. I understand. I'm not just going to pick on that, but they need to tackle. If you don't, there was a play last week against the Niners late in the game where I don't know if it was deep. It may have been their third receiver. I can't think of his name. Number 15 for the Niners.
Juwan Jennings.
It may have been Jennings. I can't remember who it was now, but right over the ran for 30 yards with missed tackles. And I get it. It was towards the end of the game, but still, that's no excuse. You got to tackle the ball carrier.
Yeah.
And they need, you know what I mean? If you don't think that, CeeDee Lamb is going to, break tackles, or, their running backs or their tight ends. I mean, it's going to be another tough challenge Sunday night for the Birds.
Yeah, I think a level of physicality isn't there that was there last season in particular. You could even say earlier into this season. Yeah. I laughed at the idea of Bosa saying that they had figured the Eagles out, because teams have thrown a lot of different things at Jalen Hurts. And again, see the people outside with the run the ball sign, and the Eagles have a ton of
Small.
talent on
Yeah.
offense. They have two. You could argue the two best wide receivers, the best duo
Sure.
in the league. You could argue a top 5 tight end. Man, at the end of the day, the great neutralizer, the easiest way to set up everything you want to do is to run the football. And this is a team that has, especially in the Nick Sirianni era, done that well. Now, part of that equation has been Jalen Hurts being a part of that run game. How long has he been dealing with this bruised knee, as they're calling it?
Right.
Is that affecting the way that they're calling plays? Is that in turn affecting our team seeing that and saying, okay, well, we're going to do exactly what the 49ers, it started early in the season with, okay, we're going to try to confuse Jalen. New England and Minnesota came out and said, we're going to stick a bunch of guys in the box. We're going to drop sometimes. We're going to blitz them all sometimes. And we're going to have to make him beat us. And okay, Jalen would. And then it's turned now to, okay, well, we're going to sit in a deep coverage and we're going to let Jalen hold the football and we're not going to let him get outside of us. If he does get outside of us, we're going to have him go in the opposite way, throwing across his opposite shoulder and doing those things. Can Jalen improve on the time it takes to deliver the football? Sure. Can they try to shore up a situation where, you're running shorter routes? Sure.
Yeah.
The best way to do that is to run the football.
Yeah.
If what your game plan is against this team is to sit back and play coverage,
Yeah.
the best way to beat that is to run the football and say your linebackers are going to have to come downhill at some point. Your safeties are going to have to come in the box at some point, because if we're running the football well, it's death by 1,000 cuts. We'll cut you up that way because our offensive line is good enough. And if Jalen throws for 150 on 10 completions because we can get a play action game going, great.
Yeah.
Now, it's very easy to say that. It's very easy to say, you look at the 2 games that they lost and the actual designed go-to runs that they in the 2 games that they lost just weren't there.
Right.
And the way that they throw the ball on first down and second down, it's hard to say. The first 2 drives that they came out against San Francisco, they moved the ball down the field efficiently, very well. Couldn't close it, which has been something they've done very well for the last month. But the great equalizer, the best thing that you can do to take pressure off of, maybe if you do think that what Jalen is seeing is maybe catching up to him a little bit, if you do think that teams are playing you way off, then buckle your chin strap, put your mouthpieces in, and on both sides of the ball, win at the line of scrimmage.
And don't just stop because you had 2 runs for 2 yards and then another one for 1 yard, and then don't just call it a day. Now, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it seems like that's what they're doing. They'll have one series where they'll hand the ball off at 2nd and 10 and gain 2 yards, and then all of a sudden, okay, you're probably going to throw on 3rd down anyway. I understand that. But the next series, don't just do 3 consecutive passes. Whether they're complete or incomplete, you got to run the football. You got to change it up a little bit. I don't know if it's called a basic style offense or whatever you want to call it. You have DeAndre Swift in the backfield, who's a very good ball handler and runner. We know DeAndre Swift. We know, Boston Scott and Kenny Gainwell are good running backs. They have the backs. They have the line. Use it. And Barry, you said Mariota time. I know you're kidding on that. You've got to be kidding me on that one. But anyway, keep right, man. Get in that 3rd and 4th quarter. Remember games back, even going back to last year a little bit, Eagles would get the ball back with 6.5, 7 minutes to go in the 4th quarter in the game. And the other team wouldn't get their hand on the football again to try to come. They got to get back to that level again. It's not too late in the season to make that happen and make those adjustments. And I say it starts this week against Dallas on Sunday night. I'm ready, Crockett. Let's go.
Yeah, and I don't think you need to be the 85 Bears and play incredible defense and have Jim McMahon throw the ball 10 times and run for 200 yards. That's not what you need. You need to just establish. I've heard people calling for the screen game. Where's DeAndre Swift in the screen game? Well, you're not going to invite defenders up the field in the screen game if they're playing with 7 or 8 back in coverage.
Right.
And defensive linemen are going to know, okay, well, as soon as this lineman just holds on to me for a second, lets me go, I know that it's a screen pass.
Right. Yeah.
The way that you take care of that is you start to establish a ground game and you bring more people in the box. Robert says, unfortunately, I think the Eagles will be able to run the ball. Dallas needs to be able to stop the run to win the game. That's the way that I think you attack this team. Now, again, that element of are you running the football well because of the threat of Jalen running the football? It's clear to see that he's not on those draw plays when they're putting people in motion, which they don't
Yeah.
do a whole lot. But what the game-winning touchdown against Buffalo is a prime example. They sent somebody in motion. The entire Bills defense flowed that way, and Jalen saw it pre-snap and took a draw right up the middle, which is easy for him to do. Cuts, cutbacks, trying to run those zone reads, trying to run those RPOs and stuff like that might not be great for him right now with whatever that knee situation is. I said it earlier in the season. I didn't love how much they were playing in the pistol. If that's what you need to do to set up your ground game a little bit more, just to give a little bit more of a traditional run look, to get things set up, do it. A traditional run game is going to help. I'm not saying you have to be 50-50 with the run game. I'm not saying you have to bury your head in the sand if you run 25 times for 50 yards.
No.
But man, you have to find some balance. You have to establish it because teams are going to sit and do exactly, Bosa said it himself that we set the template. It's kind of true. If you're going to come out and throw on first down and second down as much as you do, and you're going to be unsuccessful, and then you're not going to run the football, that is the template. And it's not brain surgery for teams. Candida, go Eagles. Thank you for checking in.
All right, Candida.
Cat Country 96 Birds Recap. It's brought to you by Miller Lite, the official beer sponsor of the Philadelphia Eagles, and by our friends at Banko Beverage Company. We are going to be out on Tuesday following Monday Night Football. Eagles play Sunday night. Monday Night Football will be out on Tuesday.
Yes.
Pints and Pies in Bethlehem, 21 East Elizabeth Avenue in Bethlehem for our show live at noon on Tuesday. That's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully we're talking about a Birds win after that. But
I hope so.
Man, we got to talk about these Cowboys a little bit here, brother, because 14 wins in a row at home. Eagles haven't won in Dallas since 2017. Now, good news. Good Dallas news. You get Dallas Goedert back. He's going to be ready to go, which I think is a huge part of this equation that can't be ignored about how this offense is moving. You get Zach Cunningham back, which
that's huge.
Whatever you think about him, it's got to be better than what we saw last week.
Correct.
But this Dallas team, Sam, I think for the first time, we might see this team be for real. And this might be the game that they've been waiting for. The Cowboys can't, quote unquote, win the big game. Doesn't get much bigger than this. Eagles are the NFC champs. Eagles were the number one seed in the NFC. They represented the NFC in the Super Bowl. This is a big game for Dallas on Sunday.
Well, and a couple things. On the Eagles injury report, Dallas Goedert looks like he's pretty good to go, but it's a little scary when all three tight ends were all in the injury report for the Birds this week. But anyway, a game that I noticed with Dallas was Seattle. In years past, I looked at that game and I'm like, you know what? That's a game the Cowboys would have lost. And I give him that credit this year and say, you know what? Instead of finding a way to lose that game, the Cowboys won that game. It's a game where, I mean, let's look even back to last year. You say Seattle pulls that one out, and we're all like, all right, blah, blah, blah. But, Dallas hung on to that game. Credit their defense, which is an amazing defense. And they stopped Seattle on the final drive of the game. And they're a good team. Dak is probably having his best year as a Cowboy. I don't think anybody can argue that as an NFL, as a pro. So you put him there again, home, prime time. The fans are going to be electric out there. It's going to be a crazy game. I think it's going to be fought till the very end. It's going to be coming down just like the Seattle game that they had. And after this game, this is big for Dallas too, because, let's look at the schedules. After this game, Cowboys schedule gets a little bit tougher with Miami and Buffalo. I think they might, both of them.
And Detroit.
Yeah. Detroit's in Dallas, but I think Miami and Buffalo, I think they're both away. I'm not quite sure on that. But then you look at the Eagles schedule after Seattle, which is still a tough game. Then you have New York and Arizona, 3 weeks, 2 New York games and an Arizona. So I think whoever pulls this game out, I mean, if the Eagles can pull this one out, Dallas has a tough schedule going on. And then you look at it the other way. Okay, let's say Dallas pulls this one out. Well, they have a tougher schedule too than the Eagles. So both teams, I think, are going to want this game terribly, but we're going to see at the very end who comes to, who finishes this game out.
So the Eagles still technically would have an advantage based on conference wins. So if both of these, say the Cowboys were to win on Sunday and both teams were to win out, the Eagles would win the division thanks to the Arizona Cardinals loss that the Cowboys had earlier this season. So it is a big game. I think I agree with you. I think right now Dak's the MVP. I think after last week, Dak is the MVP, and it's his trophy to lose. And if he plays well this week and they get a win this week, it's really he's the front runner to me at that point, because he's really put together a nice string of games here. Robert says the Cowboys have gotten better with Ferguson and Cook stepping up. That's definitely true. I just hope Dallas doesn't try and force the ball to Gallup.
I don't think
Michael Gallup has kind of been a guy that they've been waiting to get established for a long time. But no, I think to your point, they're probably thrilled to see Brandon Cooks really start showing up on a stat sheet. They're healthy at the tight end position. We've been talking about tight ends earlier. Jake Ferguson's a guy that keeps showing up, especially in the red zone for them, which I think is important. But this is going to be a big game. And I think I'm with you. I think there's going to be a lot of points. I think there's going to be a lot of highlights. I think this one's going to come down to mistakes, who protects the football better and who can generate the turnovers. Because we saw last week, Deron Bland is having an amazing season for Dallas. And so what did the Seahawks do? Went right after him and threw all over him. So it's going to be fascinating. Who's going to make those plays, especially if it goes man-to-man? If you have those chances, those one-on-one plays, who's going to make them tackling in the open field? Are you going to make the tackle, or is it going to be a slippery slope all game? We'll have to wait and see. But it's Eagles Cowboys, man.
That's all it is.
Anything can happen. Yep. We've kind of seen it all, and every time it happens, we're ready for it again. It's the Cat Country 96 Birds Recap. It's brought to you by Miller Lite, the official beer sponsor of the Philadelphia Eagles, and by Banko Beverage Company. Again, we are going to be out at Pints and Pies on Tuesday, noon, doing this show with Miller Lite. We'll have some Miller Lite swag with our friends at Banko Beverage as well. So hopefully you can come out and join us noon on Tuesday, and hopefully we're talking about an Eagles win, which would certainly bring some extra spice to the crowd.
Yeah, that's the brand new Pints and Pints that just opened, I think, last week. So that's your second location, the new one. So that's going to be fun to be at.
Excellent. So a brand new spot, hopefully a brand new feel on the season with a Birds win. We'll have to wait and see.
That's right.
But a lot of excitement. Sunday night primetime football, Eagles, Cowboys. Can't wait to see the numbers on this game because I think a lot of people are going to have eyes on it. And hopefully, go Birds, of course.
Go Birds!
Go Birds. It is the Cat Country 96 Birds Recap. Once again, it's brought to you by Miller Lite, the official beer sponsor of the Philadelphia Eagles, and by our friends at Banko Beverage Company. For Sam Malone, I am Kevin Crockett. Just waiting all day for Sunday night now, Sam. Waiting all day for Sunday night. Go Birds.